What's up, guys and gals, and welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be taking a look at a title called Space Tale. This is a very clean little They Are Billions style game where you're holding off endless hordes of enemies for as long as possible. Spoiler alert, there's gonna be a lot of strategy games this week because it's the Strategy Festival. More specifically, it's the Real-Time Strategy Festival. And so if you're wondering why all of a sudden there's so many RTSs on the channel, that's why. All of these RTS developers have been holding their cards very close to their chest over the course of the last 3 or 4 years. And this week, a whole bunch of the games that I had on my wish list have all released demos. And so today we're going to be taking a look at the retro-futuristic Space Tale. This is one of those titles that I think is doing a lot of things right, but there's also some things wrong with it. We'll talk about those at the end of the video. I've played through a little piece of the campaign so far, which I'm happy to say is much better than the campaign that you get in They Are Billions. And so that's something to keep in mind. The single-player storyline seems to be a focus here. The game is very clean, it controls very well, it feels nice to play. And so today we're going to play it for about 30 to 35 minutes, and we're going to see if it's something you wanted to add to your wish list or if it's one of those games you would rather not play. I've assembled my thoughts over the last hour and a half or so of playing the demo, and I'll have those for you at the end of the video. Hopefully somebody will timestamp it for you so that I can get on in there and deliver that information to help you make an educated decision. But links are down below to the demo if you wanted to check it on out. On top of that, you can also take a look down there and find a whole bunch more Splat links. But let's dive on into the game very, very quickly. This is a game that is very brutal and very difficult, so I'm going to be moving incredibly rapidly while we're talking about the game. If I miss something, I apologize for that, but this is a game that expects you to be operating at a very, very high APM, and if you are not operating at a very high APM, you are going to have a very bad time. So at the beginning of the game, we got to get our economy up and running. There will be these occasional rifts that are sitting around on the ground, and we can plant any type of resource extractor that we want on top of them. I don't know what the resources are called. I never got to that point in the overall campaign where they actually talked about the resources and like what they're called. There's just blue, there's purple, and there's white, and we need all three of them in order to make ourselves effective at fighting the enemy. And so at the beginning of the game, I'm going to spend a lot of time sort of expanding my territory and grabbing some of these nodes over here, because if I don't grab these nodes over here, we are not going to have enough resources to go up against the absolute onslaught that the game is going to throw at us. And so hopefully we can get those put together. I like to have a ratio. I like to have like 5 of the white extractors, like 4. Maybe I'll go for a blue over here just to make sure we've got a decent amount of blue coming in. And so we've got a 5-3-2 ratio right now. That should work out okay. And I need to start stamping out soldiers. Now, if you've ever played an RTS before, this game's control scheme and the way that it functions will be instantly recognizable to you as a player. Let me put down some barrackses down here so that we can get some core units out and running. Right-click, move stuff around. You can't use WASD to guide your units around. You got to use arrow keys, I think. Yeah, arrow keys. I'm just going to use the middle mouse button, though, in order to scroll things around because it makes things easier. We do need to get some more hubs out and running. These hubs, they increase the amount of population that you can have, so they're making our pop cap even stronger than it currently is. And I'd like to get these hubs out about that far right there, maybe, if I can do it. I don't think I have enough resources for right now. But we need to get a very strong vanguard all nice and put together, because once the enemy starts coming, they don't stop coming. There's no gaps in this game like They Are Billions. You've just got to deal with the waves as they come on in and try not to panic and like pee your pants. Let's go ahead and we'll get some units up here to protect this. I'm going to extend a hub out maybe. What's that going to cost me? Let me get a hub right here too, and we'll start organizing soldiers for the defense in various areas. 2 of these should be enough to float us for right now, but I think we've got a little bit of a resource deficit. Let's put another one out right there just to get us up to 66. These guys right here have kind of like a GDI quality to them. If you've ever played Command and Conquer, they're modular. You can convert them into turrets and stuff. I hope they expand that idea out even further, because I think it's a really good idea. Let's take all these units and we'll park them over there in front of this avenue, and then the next batch of units that are going to be coming in are almost all of them going to go down to this area right here, because the enemy, the map is the same in the demo. Every single time you play it, it moves things around on the map, but the layout is the same. And so I would very much like to have this area walled off right here before too long, just to protect myself. Walls in this game are kind of ceremonial. They're not very good. They die in like 3 hits from an alien. but that's the way she goes when you're playing the game. I've got 5 guys right there. Okay, no burger and fries to go along with it, unfortunately. And wave 1 is initiated. So let's go ahead and get soldiers where we can get them. I need all of you guys to be over here and defending this wall. They shouldn't press up on this wall over here for a while. These hubs are also important because you need to build a certain number of them before it will increase your tech tier. Frequently in RTS games, your tech tier is kind of like a thing you initiate from your command hub. Not the case in this game. In this game, you actually tier up by having loads and loads and loads of hubs everywhere and taking over the map and increasing your domain. And so I think we're guarded up right now. We should be okay for a few minutes, but keep spitting out units because until we have 60 or 70 soldiers, I'm not going to feel safe. And we'll try to spread them out in an effective way. We're also going to want to start looking around and trying to find places where we can get upgrades. Ooh, I think we can actually convert this into a turret already. Good. We'll convert that into a turret. I forgot what I was talking about. I'm moving very hectically and frenetically right now, trying to stay ahead of the difficulty curve. But as I was saying, we need to expand out and find new research areas or new areas where we can find more resources in order to get these upticks going very, very quickly. But one building we can get configured for right now is going to be the research hub. That's going to allow us to increase the attack power, the armor, the movement speed, all those kinds of things of the units that we have available. And so it'll be very, very helpful. Give me another hub over here. There we go. Another hub has been dropped, so that should keep our unit cap nice and increasing. Let me peel off like 3 of you guys, put you over here. 3 of you guys take center wall over on this side. We're going to want to get mechanized warfare before too long because these guys have a unit that's also very Command and Conquer inspired where you can deploy them. It looks kind of like a Big Daddy. If he's not submerged in the ground, he attacks with drills and murders the enemy that way. However, if he is submerged, he basically becomes a pillbox turret, which is incredibly helpful for defending your territory. So I'd like to have that. Where are you guys going? You guys are like slowly drifting off your point right now. I would like you to stop drifting off your point, and if I can block you from leaving, that would be even better. Military conscription here, very, very mandatory. I don't want you leaving the base. I don't want yourself getting into any kind of trouble or any kind of issue. Give me like another 4 or 5 out of each of these hubs, and we'll just reinforce all of these sides a little bit. Whoever's got the least amount of units will get the benefit of having more units. We've got enough resources to where we can turn that into a turret, but I don't know if I want to. I think we're looking okay. You guys are kind of like off cattywampus right now, though. I don't want the turret alone to be defending these walls. So you guys get down here and just kind of like fight with the enemy and scrum with them. Unfortunately, I hope there's a technology they add at some point that makes the walls auto-regenerate, because as it stands right now, the walls, they are paper thin. They die basically instantly, and I would like them to not die basically instantly. Let's put in a few more hubs out here. We're going to extend these out to the best of our ability. The good news is that I've got a whole bunch of units over the... Aw, dude, that's unfortunate what just happened. They're sneaking through a little crevice over on this side. You know space bugs, man. Always creepy crawling their way into your crevices. And we're going to start deploying these guys as turrets over here. And you can see them digging down into the ground. They've got little cannons on their shoulders that should make this a little bit easier. I would like to have a turret right there. I would also like to have a turret right there just to help out with the defense. I don't know if I have the resources to do it effectively, but we're going to make a line of these little Big Daddy guys over on this side to help us out with holding points over here. And we'll have 2 little squads over here for when the big bugs start to come in, because the big bugs are going to be worrisome, and we're going to have to watch out for those. You come down this way, and you're going to start blockading off this area and burrowing down. And just helping out with the defense a little bit. There we go. He's now dug in, so that should be good. I don't know how many more of these guys I can get out, but I can build a shadow add-on. I don't know what a shadow add-on is going to add to my life over here. All you guys micro on this side and start fighting this dude. Probably going to lose a unit or 2 over here, unfortunately. The bugs in this game, they hit incredibly hard. They sting like hell. So there we go. We've got a few more units out and about. Let's keep on digging turrets down on this side just to keep ourselves good and defended. Just a nice little wall of them over here. We're also going to upgrade that to a gun. We're going to upgrade that to a gun so it can help out with the defense as well. And you guys just make a line of defenses over on this side. I don't see too many scary things coming after us right now. All you guys on there. Good stuff. Big Bug is down. One of the things that this game does exceptionally well is that the animation quality is really good in this title. Like, you can tell that whoever's designing this game may have worked in some AAA capacity before, because it's definitely got some of those over-clean aspects with the characters and how they stand around and how they fight and their death animations and all that kind of stuff that make the game feel very, very good to play. Like the gunshots, the impacts of shooting enemies, they all feel great here. That's going to be my final defensive unit over on this side. So we should have a really good defensive wall over here. And if I get the concrete together, I'm going to try to wall that off. We've got a big bad over on this side that's got to go. We're losing units over there. Spit me out like 3 of them on this side. And then you two, give me like a few more recruits, I guess, just to shore up the defense on that wall. This wall hasn't been hit that hard yet, but we'll get a turret going right there too, just to help out in case it does start getting hit a little bit harder. We may need a few more concurrent layers of defense on this side, I think, just to keep us good and safe, but we're not there yet. He's spitting on my wall from outside my range, which sucks, dude. He's spitting on that thing right now. And now he's attacking my little turret god, too. Unfortunate. Fix that up real fast. Let's go ahead and... I will buy a shadow add-on. I don't know what that's going to do for me. It looks like it gives me shadows, which are kind of like these little aerial cars that can fire while moving. They make for very good scouts, and they make for very good harassment units as well. They tend to be very strong in that capacity. All you guys on him... Give me another guy dug in right here, and then we'll get another guy dug in right here. There we go. That should help out with our defenses a little bit, and this little probe guy right here should be able to heal everybody. I do have a nurse add-on, so I can get healers now, which would be very helpful. I'm going to try and get that all set up. These guys are fighting for their life on this side. Bring over one of these turrets and have him set up over here. We'll try to get walls across this side. And once I have shadows, I'm going to spit a few of those out. I don't have enough unit caps, so we're going to have to work on that a little bit. We're unit capped on out. I'm going to take the first shadow that builds, and I'm going to use it to scout. That way I can uncover the map and figure out where our resources are at and how that's going to help us out in the long term. Guys kind of fall back. We're on wave 3 right now. It's getting hectic out here, dude. It's getting un poco shveddy. There's my shadow. And so let's send the shadow out and see if we can find anything good out here. Now that we've got the defenses established. We found a boss on that side, and he's guarding a resource hub. I just need a place to build out to here. If I don't have a place to build out to, things are going to get complex. Who's fighting? You guys? You guys are always fighting over here. We're losing some units on this side, too. Alright, let's scan around over here, see what we can find so that I can build to it and get myself... Okay, so there's a hub right there where I can get some more resources, but we'll have to figure out a way to defensinate it. You guys start spitting out a couple more units. We may have issues over here, so I'm going to reroute some of these guys back to help, because this defensive line is almost assuredly going to fold under these giant, gnarly bastards coming through. You move and harass. You're too valuable to lose right now. There we go, and they held. Good stuff. This side should be able to hold just with the defensive blockade that I have. These guys are holding okay over here. Make sure you stay behind the little bulwark dudes. But everything feels very, very clean. And your units do have activate abilities. So the Marines, they can do like a jump pack thing where they sort of jump across the map and can engage with the enemy. Oh my goodness gracious. Get you patched up. Walls might be helpful over here. I don't know. Yep, get them banged out. Good stuff. I need more hubs. So I think we made the decision that we were going to hub in this direction, hopefully to get ourselves where we wanted to go. So let's start hubbing a little bit. It's not like we don't have the concrete to do it. And so just hub forward a little bit. I don't want to get like too crazy about it, but we do need to get a little crazy about it. I've got some more units over here that can reinforce the line on that side. We are holding and doing our thing. I love that animation of the big ones when they go down. It looks so good. Such a satisfying animation. I want the tank add-on. That's what I really want. Give me an upgrade to Crazy Lab. I don't know what Crazy Lab's going to give me, but Crazy Lab should give me something. Let's get a few more of you guys over here. I don't know if we're going to be able to hold over here. Like, spreading out. They're coming in pretty consistently and aggressively, which is making me nervous. Like, it's very difficult to get this set up. These guys are cut off from the mother hub. Goodness gracious. Things happening everywhere right now. Are you guys doing okay? That splash damage you're giving out is awfully nice, and I appreciate it. Don't let that hub go down. Do fix the hub, though. And a big guy over there doing his thing. Maybe have them reinforce ever so slightly. Looks like he's going after the wall, so that should be okay. He's going to waste his attack on the wall first thing. Almost got my little guy right there. Give me another probe that can come over here and heal our defenses. And I think that this push is a failure as of right now. I may have gotten a little bit overly aggressive about what I was trying to do. Yeah, I bet there are aliens detected. You guys fall back. Force them to walk into the defensive line. Barely have a moment to breathe, but there is no push pause in this game. So if you're hoping for that to give you a reprieve, I'm sorry to say, you're going to be in deep, deep trouble. You guys holding over here? What are you guys doing right now? They're probably going to need some backup. All right, let's get backup on the way. So you start spitting that out. You give me a couple of nurses if you can. Oh, good. We've got an audio bug. Super fun stuff. I've noticed that the audio in this game tends to phase upwards and downwards in volume kind of aggressively depending on what's happening, and it's sort of unpredictable. Nurse, you get down here, throw a health grenade on everybody. There's also problems with ability overlap, so if you've got multiple units in a stack that all have abilities, it only shows the abilities of like the leader unit that's in there, which can make it very, very nitpicky to get on through and pick out the ability that you want to use in order to save your units, especially when it comes to healing. I'd like the ability to right-click on like some of the nurse abilities and whatnot, and in right-clicking them, they would just like auto-throw grenades at the largest stack of unit if they can manage it. That would be the perfect solution right there. Give me a hub over here. And you guys hold it the best that you can. I don't know what's that way either, but we're going to have to sort it out before too long. Oh, two big dogs. Okay. Perfectly timed to ruin my day. That hub is not going to make it, I fear. I think a number of these soldiers aren't going to make it. Okay. You guys just keep busting on here. Alas, we lost our hub on that side. We also lost all of our soldiers. So let's reinforce them real quick before this whole side folds over on us. We may not have this. This could be a problem. Pull everybody back on in and try to save us. But this game plays very, very rapid fire. And would you believe that this is on the easy difficulty? This is the easy difficulty. This is the difficulty that's meant to be for the noobs. And they start coming in on you like hard straight off the beginning of the game. Yeah, you guys just kind of attack move the best. Oh my god, we've got little runners coming in from that side. I believe that the left side has failed on us. Bottom side's about to fail on us. I don't know what we can do to actually pull ourselves out of here. I'm spitting out as many units as possible, but I think at this point it's kind of one of those death spiral foregone conclusions that unfortunately mankind's expedition into the stars is going to end up with us broken, battered, and beaten. We'll come back. We'll do it again. But yeah, the difficulty curve on this game escalates really, really quickly. I think most of it's just due to the fact that it's like a They Are Billions style wave-based survival mode, but it doesn't have any gaps on the in-between. So you'll defeat a wave, but then the next wave starts instantly, and it's like this non-stop trickle, 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 trickle from all sides. Bye-bye base. You were a good base while you lasted, but unfortunately, thou art gone. In between missions, it looks like it is intended, so as you're playing through the single-player campaign, you get research points, and the research points allow you to go down a simple upgrade tree for every single one of your units, and also every single one of your heroes to upgrade them and make them stronger. In a very smart play, the developers have unlocked all of these straight from the beginning so that you can play around with them in the demo and get a feel for them as you're playing through the game. It looks like there's going to be building upgrades as well, but those are grayed out as it stands right now, and so I can't really tell you what the quality of that is going to be, but a lot of these guys do get cool abilities that work really, really well. We get everything from flamethrower units to nurses. It looks like the game has about 10 units for right now, but I do think that it's going to need a little bit more customization and a few more units to get it all put together. Let's go ahead and start off a new mission, though, and I will give you my closing thoughts about the title as we play one last time and attempt to survive the alien horde. So I think it's a good idea to start out with the good stuff, because I think there are actually a lot of good things with this game. There's numerous good things with this title, such that it becomes a case where I think the core gameplay is good, but there's definitely a lot of room for refinement and polishing of the overall gameplay curve. When it comes to the presentation and aesthetic style of the game, everything is spot on the money for the 1950s retro-futuristic ray gun sci-fi fantasy set almost mixed with Helldivers that they're going for. The unit barks and callouts, they're all great. Their animations look rock solid, and everything from building more structures to using special abilities to killing enemies and watching them die, all of those things are arranged to a very high quality. Adding to that point, the snappiness and responsiveness of unit control and selectivity all feels good, and pathfinding seemed to mostly be okay for me, so long as you weren't using patrol paths. Patrol paths seem to confuse them pretty frequently, but in all other cases they seem to do great. The game has a very good established art style that oozes through every part of the game, that leans heavily on sort of this grimdark jetsons style of retrofuturism that's going to make it stand apart from the many other RTSs coming out that are now jockeying for position in the overall industry when it comes to the genre, and I found that the soundtrack and also the sound effects were all done very well. Campaign-wise, I played through the first mission. It took about 25 minutes. It was a Tanya mission, which is kind of unfortunate. I'm a strong believer that you should never start an RTS game with a single operative mission, but by and large, it was enjoyable. Once I picked up some more units, I got into the storyline, I fought some bosses. The narrative and the dialogue is delivered to the player via a Comic Zone style of text boxes and pop-ups, which once again leans into that style of ray gun sci-fi that the game is going for, and the color palettes, visual themes, everything matched up perfectly fine throughout everything visual with the game. From there, I think it brings us to areas of improvement that we can play around with, things that the game can do better at. Call me a weenie if you want, but I do think that a push pause is going to be a big benefit to this game due to the high difficulty curve and frenetic pace of the survival mode, which is where I spent most of my time playing. I'm not a big campaign player when it comes to RTSs. I tend to jump into the sandbox or the survival mode, or like the skirmish mode against AIs, and that tends to be where I spend most of my time. With this title, the action is very non-stop and very wild and crazy, and it requires a level of focus and fast APM management that I think most average players are not going to be able to keep up with even slightly, and a push pause that allows you to give orders and pick upgrades from your building while the game is paused would help out there tremendously. They wouldn't have to fiddle with the difficulty because just like pause the game up, do your managerial stuff, get back into the action. And as a reminder, all the gameplay that you saw here today was on easy difficulty, the easiest setting. I gave normal difficulty a couple of stabs during my couple hours with the game. It is very intense, to say the least. I think the overall UI and HUD is much too large for the game, so that entire bar along the bottom it fits in with the aesthetic of the game, but it needs to be trimmed down and made smaller so that the player has a better viewport to play around with and observe the field with, so that there's less scrolling involved. I'd redo most of it from scratch, even though it's a good UI, because there's nothing wrong with its functionality or the way that it presents things to the player. It's just way too damn big and bulky, which is unfortunate. I think allowing the player to zoom out another 30 to 40% from where the game is set at by default right now would help out as well, because a lot of the waves in this game, I think all the waves that I've seen so far, are omnidirectional. And what that means is straight from the beginning of your run, you're expected to simultaneously observe and command along 4+ different fronts while also extending out of your foxhole with attack groups to try to take over new areas. And with the current zoom level and UI size, I had trouble keeping track of all of the different fights that were going on while also managing an expeditionary force to get out into the world and take over more space. And so that was a thing that I felt like needed to be done a little bit better. There's also some weird overlaps in the UI with hero abilities. If you have multiple heroes inside of a group that you've rubber bandboxed, my experience so far is that it only displays the abilities of the topmost character or hero, leaving you to hunt and peck through your units to get the ability you want. They're going to have to come up with some kind of unified ability bar for what you've got rubber bandboxed that contains all the attacks in your currently selected army with their hotkeys displayed. That way you can throw healing grenades and fire sniper shots. And once again, even so, you could put a band-aid on this problem just with push pause, because then I could drop my command group and then find the guy I want in the group, tell him what enemy to hit with his ability or where to throw a heal, so on and so forth. And once again, push pause would solve that problem. At least for now. It would still need to be worked on from a basic UI gestalt standpoint, but a push pause would help out there and make it much less obvious. All in all, I get the vibe from Space Tale. From the presentation standpoint, it's doing almost everything correctly to a high standard of visual design, but little annoyances and missteps in the UI I found frequently tripped me up while I was playing, and that combined with the game's very aggressive difficulty curve with no breathers in between waves means that actually playing the pretty well visually designed thing with snappy controls and everything else can be very, very overwhelming. The vibe that I got overall from this game is that whoever designed it is very good at RTS games, and they designed the entire game around their skill level being normal, when in fact, the general public and consumers almost universally do not play RTS games very well unless it's a genre that they specialize in and they're competing at. And so the game expects you to perform at a level of acumen that I think is effectively going to bully most of those people out of being potential consumers. And so for the sake of their review score, I would put breathers in between each wave for 3 or 4 minutes just to let the player get their bearings and kind of get their managerial tasks done. A push pause would be great, an expanded viewport, more ability to zoom out, a mini-map that better relays information, and some tinkering work on the difficulty curve of survival mode specifically would be a really good idea. I didn't get the difficulty vibe from the campaign, but I only played through the first mission. It felt pretty smooth, and even if you've played RTS games before, you're going to breeze through it no problem, but the survival mode was mostly what I focused on, since that's a big draw for me with RTS games, and that was my takeaway from all this. So definitely some managerial polish work to be done with this one. However, the game is pretty rad from a visual standpoint and from a game feel standpoint, and so I don't think they're too far off the mark. They just got to get in there and they got to start fiddling with some overall balancing code and get the difficulty curve under control, maybe some extra accompaniment in order to make that process smoother, and I think they've got something good on their hands. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so that you don't have to. Today up on the chopping block, it was Space Tales. Tomorrow it'll be something else. Thanks for hanging out, and that's all I got for you, folks. Bye.